I was really stretched thin, and I had had a back surgery from driving and all sorts of crazy stuff that were red flags going off all the place, and I ignored them because this is what I thought I had to do. And, one of my regular checkups, I got a phone call one morning in a hotel lobby from my doctor who said I had endometrial cancer.
Hello. You are listening to the Late Bloomer Living podcast, where we are reimagining and redefining what it means to be in midlife, where we are gathering energy, momentum, and excitement for our next chapter via candid conversations with other midlifers about their own pivots, pitfalls, and triumphs. I'm Yvonne Marchese, your host, and I'm so happy you're here. Adulting can be hard, but you don't have to go it alone. I created this podcast to give you inspiration and let you know you're not alone in feeling stuck in midlife. Both men and women are welcome here, but if you are a woman, I also invite you to join our Midlife Uprising community for women, where we are making waves and reimagining what it means to age. Being part of this community for women will remind you on a regular basis that you're not too old and it's never too late to do that thing you've been thinking about. You can find more information at midlifeuprising.com, and I hope to see you there. Hello, my friend. Are you finding yourself on the hamster wheel of life? Overwhelmed, running from one task to the next, to the next, to the next? Or is it just me? Let's talk about slowing down to speed up. Let's talk about getting off the hamster wheel so we can recover. This is a continuation of last week's episode talking about self-love. It is so important that we take time for ourselves so we don't crash and burn. My guest today is my friend, Denise Millet. We met through a business mastermind about a year ago. One of the best investments I've ever made in myself, by the way. Denise is a marketing technology specialist. Okay, so let me explain that. She works with entrepreneurs and business owners to help make sure that their businesses are findable to search engines. She's on a mission to make sure that the many hours that her clients invest in creating blogs and podcasts and websites pay off, so they can be findable. She also builds websites, digital products, and other marketing automations for them so they can spend their time and energy in building their businesses. She's an author and host of a weekly show called Marketing Matters on the Win-Win Women's TV network. She's a busy lady, but she's doing it on her own terms now, which wasn't true so long ago, not too long ago. And one of the reasons she's able to do so much is because she learned the hard way that grinding and not getting enough rest was actually making her sick. So she changed that up. Okay, without further ado, here's Denise Millet. Let's go. Good morning, Denise. Thank you so much for being with me.
Good morning, Yvonne. Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to have you here. So you and I have we're hopping on this Zoom call straight out of having been in Clubhouse. And we spend a lot of time together.
We do.
We do. Through Clubhouse, which is an audio social media app for anybody who doesn't know. It's like being in Zoom without the camera. So you're able to be in your pajamas while you talk, which is great. But we have a whole community of people that we're kind of like business besties, if you want to use that term.
It's amazing. It really is. Between Clubhouse, the math, your community, other people's endeavors, working out, all the things that we touch each other's presence. We're in each other's presence multiple times a day, sometimes a week. It's been great. It really is. It's so different than anything I've had so far, which is kind of amazing,
It is amazing. Let's go back in time, Denise.
Okay, okay.
Let's go back in time to who was Denise Millet before I met you. And let's go back even further because you were already doing your own marketing technology business when I met you. But there was a corporate version of Denise Millet before that, right?
Yes, yes. There's been a long history of corporate and being at home, raising my children, and corporate and volunteer work and graduate school and all sorts of IT stuff. So I was working as a software implementer, installer, and trainer in major hospitals for the last stint was 7 years, where I'd go to a hospital, install software, train nurses and doctors, and supply people how to use it, and spend hours and hours in hospitals 24/7, kind of, bringing software online and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, because that's been a big change in the medical industry, right? Is getting things off paper and into, and so that must
Well,
have been quite a
and
learning curve for them.
I think the change in healthcare has the focus on dollars and saving money, and because things are so tight from a cost perspective and what they get reimbursed for, they track so much more. So the software and the things that I was working on was the supply chain things, where you have a surgery, there's 100 things that get pulled out of a room to use on your surgery, and they all
Oh,
cost something. And are they all being tracked so you can reorder them? And also, so you know how much the procedure cost,
yeah.
so, and your resources of people and how long it takes, and all these analytics that really weren't ever brought into the picture, but now it's getting more and more refined over time. So, yeah. But I was doing that for 7 years, and I'd get up on Monday, I'd get on a plane, I'd fly or drive somewhere, spend 4 days on site in the hospital doing all these things, and then fly home or drive home, work for 2 days, Friday and Saturday at home, and then Sunday would be I would sleep, and then I would get up and do it again.
Wow.
And
That sounds like a grueling schedule.
it was, and the thing that I loved was working with the people, and I have seen tech in people's hands for many, many years, and it's always bothered me that people were so struggling with it and so afraid of it. So I've really tried to um, spend time making people not afraid of it by helping them understand what they're doing, because it's all just stress. It's all like, this is brilliant people with PhDs, doctors, nurses with degrees, and they're freaking out. And I'm like, seriously, this is not, surgery. This is real easy. It's just because you haven't done it. Once you do it, you're fine. And it is true. Once they get the experience, they do it. But there's this big, I don't know, they beat themselves up because they can't do it out of the box, so there's this big stress component that I've always been, so I really like the training part of it. I would say that I'm technical as much as I want to be, because I gave up programming in the nuts and bolts stuff and went for the function and the people piece and the all that. So,
Which suits you so well because you're so good at making tech approachable and how and tying in, like, you've brought what you've brought to our community is teaching us how, oh my gosh, how to set up our websites so that we can be found, like the simplest thing in the world. We're all working it to death to try to build businesses and to try to build, do things, and we work so hard, and then are we shooting ourselves in the foot by not setting ourselves up right? And you take all that scary SEO language and turn it into human language that we can go, oh, that's what I need to do.
well, I there's a huge gap, because there's this crazy industry of SEO out there where they sell you have to worry about all these tactics and these numbers and these rankings and all this garbage jargon, when in actuality, if you don't actually set your content, your pages, your blogs, your podcast up to be read by Google and included. All that other stuff you can't do, because you're not in there, so that big gap of people don't need that scary SEO thing. They just need to be in there and then work with what they get, and so I don't think I'm inventing anything new. I'm just kind of like saying, take a step back and start at square one and get this piece. Then you worry about going forward, and that big piece that so many people don't have, that it's hard to see all the hours that people put into creating things, and to think that if you put their name in Google search, they don't come up. And it's like, and I did it for myself, when I first started some of this marketing stuff, and I put myself in, and let's see, there's Claude Millet comes up, and a couple other Denise Millets that are authors. I'm like, what do you mean? I've been in tech forever, and I'm not there. What the heck? So.
Wow. Yeah. And I can totally see how that 7 years in that industry has set you up to be as good as you are at what you do. So let's go back to what took you from that industry. And this is really what I wanted to talk to you about today, is that journey of what happened.
Well, this 7 years was rewarding in a lot of ways, because I was returning back to work after being home with my kids for so long. So this was my full-time kind of gig. And I had this feeling that I had to make up for a lot of years I missed. So I gave 200%. And I was re-entering the workforce as a woman who had a little bit of a gap. And I felt like I had to give it all. And I did. I gave like 200%. And I knew after a number of years that it was too much, that it was really stressing me out, that I was taxed. I wasn't feeling well. I was, heart palpitations. I was starting to go on different meds to try to manage stuff. I put on a weight, like every year was another 10, another 15. And I felt awful, right? So I was really stretched thin. And I had a back surgery from driving and all sorts of crazy stuff that were red flags going off all the place. And I ignored them because this is what I thought I had to do. And, one of my regular checkups, I got a phone call one morning in a hotel lobby from my doctor, who said I had endometrial cancer. And I was like, oh, okay, whew, everything stops. And you just kind of go, oh, this is not where I'm going. This is not happening. Like in that moment, everything stopped, nothing mattered. And it was just like, you've gone too far. Like you knew that this was coming, not this, but you've had all these signals and you haven't listened. And now you have to listen. So I had a hysterectomy, fine, caught it early, didn't have any additional treatment. I mean, it was very early stage. That was the only saving grace, is I was on a regular routine of checkups, and something was different and I noticed it. So then we did the testing, and so that was good. I did that for myself. But after the surgery, I just kind of said, I got to be done. So I tied up all the loose ends that I had to, and I left, and I slept for a year. I basically came home and said, I have enough of my savings. I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, I'd been thinking about copywriting. I'd been thinking about my own business forever. But I didn't have a plan. At that point, I just knew I had to stop, and I had to repair myself and give myself time to sleep and catch up and eat right and deal with the stress and let the stress go. And so that's how it started. And then after that period of sleep, I started to get my head together about what I was going to do. I explored copywriting. I've always loved marketing. I've always loved search marketing and search engines and all those things. So I was starting to formulate my business and my idea, and the pandemic hit. And so starting something as the whole world is shutting down, as much as people benefited from the online world, I wasn't prepared to jump in and take advantage of it at all because I hadn't made all the connections and relationships. And so I was still trying to hone my message, figure out who my audience was, what I was going to do. Like there's too many unknowns. So I did a lot of things, but I wasn't ready to capitalize on everybody coming into virtual living, so.
Yeah. So then were you scared? I guess I'm just going to ask, were you scared?
Scared to go out on my own?
Yeah.
Oh, I was so fed up with giving that 200% for somebody else's dream that I didn't have a part in determining, that I was kind of angry at myself, and I really wanted to find a way to feed me more because I felt like I was feeding a monster that wasn't mine, and I was just giving away my life. And so I had this different appreciation for what I had to give and what I wanted to contribute. And it wasn't just for a paycheck anymore. So yeah, I was scared financially. I was scared just because I had let a lot of my connections go because I was working like such a nut. I was really blinders, aside from immediate family, nobody really saw me. So I didn't really have those social connections anymore that I could lean on to try to figure out how to get business. And that's the hardest part, like how to reach out to people when you haven't been reaching out in a long time is the hardest thing for me, honestly.
Yeah.
So I joined some programs to pick up skills I didn't have, or with ideas that I thought, because I like training, building a course seemed to make sense. And, I tried different things, some good, some not so good. So, and that's all led me to where we are today. So I'm still trying to figure it out. I have a better understanding of where I can fit in the marketplace, because I don't want to be there's so much, as somebody might say, Kool-Aid. There's so many hucksters out there selling things that don't work. I don't want to be one of those. I don't want to be just a figurehead that spews stuff at people. I really understand now that I do best when I interact with people and I have them get their light bulb moments. And doing that en masse, as much as it seems attractive to make money doing that, is not really what's going to do it for me. It's not going to be the value exchange that I want to have. So
gotcha. So instead of scaling and doing something for bigger audiences, you really thrive on the one-on-one and seeing that one person's aha moment and development.
That's what really feeds the soul. Do I need to scale some things so that financially I can have the life I need and support my family and all that? Yes. Whether it's a book or a workshop or whatever, but it's not going to be the only avenue, which a lot of people take. A lot of people just want to sell, and they're comfortable with that. And I really feel like what feeds me more are the people. So
yeah,
I need to have a big component of that.
Yeah. Can we go back to that year where you slept? Because that fascinates me. Seriously. Part of me is like, oh, I want to sign up for that.
How do I get one of those?
Sign me up. So did you really sleep the whole time, or did you sleep as much as you needed to? What did you do when you were awake?
Nothing. Read, wrote, watched movies, ate food, saw my family, all the things I wasn't doing for the last 7 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Caught up on crafty things and, I don't know. I had a beautiful home at the beach that I just never got to go to the beach. I sat out on my deck a lot and stared at the boats, and I slept as much as I needed to. I didn't have an alarm clock. I didn't have a schedule at all.
I'm sitting here daydreaming because it sounds so
Well,
great.
and I was
But I
fortunate.
also know myself, and I'm like, at some point, I know I would get antsy.
Well, it's not like I took myself out because I was bored and I wanted to shift, or that I was angry I didn't sleep. I was truly exhausted. I was truly fried.
Uh-huh.
I was really burnt out. And um, to say I got 8 to 10 a day of sleep was major, because I had lived on 4 to 5 for a long time, and
Yeah.
my body does not like that at all. I
Yeah.
would have loved to have been more industrious and worked out and done all these things, but I was really fried.
Yeah, you were recovering.
I
That was
was,
recovery.
I
That
was.
was. There's a book that I keep meaning to read, but I love the idea, and I've listened to a bit of her podcast. It's called Wintering. Have you heard of this?
No, no.
Catherine May, I believe, is the author, and it embraces that idea of, when we need restoration, we need restoration. We need that time to
Mm,
to regroup, and we don't give it to ourselves
right. And this
most
wasn't
of the.
something that a vacation could solve. This wasn't I need a recharge. This was, I let myself get too depleted, and I had to just stop. I had to just let it all recharge in every aspect, because I had neglected it for so long,
Yeah.
which I don't recommend to anybody. But, we do these things.
Yep. Yep.
But I was
Absolutely.
blessed because I had saved money. I had money to live off of. So I didn't have that financial constraint. My children were out of college and they were living other places. They weren't with me. So
Hmm.
I had the opportunity to recharge in my own way. If different things, if it had been 10 years earlier, I would have been knee deep in college students, and
Sure. No
and
way, right?
you
Yeah.
don't have that opportunity. So yeah.
Yeah. I try to do the restoration for myself because I do have kids. I'm still in that zone, and don't have the money to stop working and all that. But I try to build it into my daily experience.
One of the big things I have learned is that my body does not do well without 8 hours of sleep.
There you go.
I
And
can
you have
push
to
it,
figure that out for yourself, right? And like
right?
you said, you were ignoring the signs, right? They were there,
Big ones, yeah.
right? They're there for all of us, and we ignore them, and our body's trying to tell us something. Hey,
Hello.
hey.
And we all pretend like we all think well, we could get into a whole conversation, but the whole superwoman complex, where
Hmm.
we have to be intelligent professionals, jobs, kids, homes, multitasking mavens.
Oh, and by the way, you need to look great while you're doing it,
Right, right, right.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Uh-huh.
can't do all those things at one time. And when I do, something has to give, and I was letting my health give. And I
Yeah.
can't say that I am totally great now, you know, but, but I'm not stressed in the same way. I mean, would I like my business to have moved faster? Would I have liked to found the make $1 million in a weekend thing? Sure. But I feel like I'm on a path to my success, or my what's going to feed me in a longer term,
Hmm.
and allow me to have the life I want, which is, I wasn't even thinking about what I wanted before. I was just thinking about what I was supposed to do,
Yeah.
or what I
And like you
thought I
said,
was supposed to
you
do.
had a beautiful beach house and no time to enjoy it. And I think that that is
Right.
so common for people who are high achievers, who are grinding and doing all the things, and they're successful, they're making money, and maybe, yeah, they might have a second home, but are they able to go enjoy that? You know,
Yeah.
that's the
And I've
question.
been paring back, and I have a little house now, and we're not near the water because Hurricane Sandy, thank you very much. But
Mhm.
We have a lot of different, I'm doing a lot of different things to try to make the next 10 what I want them to be, as opposed to what I think the trail wants me to have or do or be,
Yeah. What
So
have you learned about yourself in starting your business? Oh, hey, wait, I'm going to back up because there was another question that I had that I really want to ask you is you had that year of restoration. Was there like a switch that flipped where you suddenly went, okay, I'm done with this? Like, in Forrest Gump, when he's running and he's running and he's running, and then he just
he's
stops
done.
and he's
Yeah.
like, I'm tired. I think I'm going to go home now. And he's done. And,
No,
and, and he walks
no.
away from it. Did you have like a moment where you're like, okay, I'm done resting and now I need to do something else? What happened?
What happened was, as I picked something to start with, which is always my toughest thing, is to narrowing it down to what to do.
That is a doozy. That's hard.
And I decided, I had been toying with writing a book about SEO and SEO writing, and because I had been studying copywriting, direct response copywriting, excuse me. Right, um, and I really loved the whole copywriting for search kind of thing back
Mm-hmm.
then. So I started writing a book, and I worked with a writing coach to help me get that formulated. And that started putting a couple hours a day towards that. And once that started, then it opened up to other programs I was doing, other things I was writing, and it grew into, a couple of things. And then honestly, when the pandemic hit, things got real. Like there were so many other things to worry about. We were all locked in. I forgot about my restoration and started thinking more about the future, because I didn't know where we were going and I didn't know what was happening. And virtual became a way to connect with people, because I really couldn't network. I really couldn't go to or all those things I thought I was going to do as a business owner became virtual because you couldn't go anywhere. So my mind shifted a little bit. So I gradually added on things that I was doing for the business. It wasn't like a cutoff. It was still sleeping 8 hours a day, but I wasn't being quite the couch potato for the other
Yeah, so it
4 or
was like a
5 hours a
slow
week.
ramping up.
Kind
That
of.
one thing leads to another as it tends to, right?
Yeah. I mean, I still give myself, I try not to overcommit. I don't like letting people down. So I don't like to overcommit and then say I'm really tired or I don't feel well. That makes me kind of crazy. So I hold back more. I try to stay true to listening to what my mind and my body can handle, even though I want to succeed. So it's like a dichotomy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's the game, I think, is trying to figure that I am living that as well, is trying to figure out how to enjoy the journey towards what I'm hoping to get to in the long run and continue to take steps towards it every day without getting completely into a grind over it. Oh my goodness. I could go on and on. There's so much else I wanted to ask you, Denise. So you've got your business and you are helping people build websites. You're helping people plan and know what they want to say with their copy so that they are findable because of the type of things that they're saying that somebody would actually put into a search. Like that's
Right.
what you do.
That connection, right?
You've got your workshop to help people with that. I know you're working on a book.
Yeah.
What do you want for yourself long term? Where do you see yourself? What's your end game, Denise?
And you're smiling because I am slowly getting rid of stuff. Stuff is not as important to me. And as much as a home base is good, I have this strong desire to just go see the world, like drive around to national parks and see all of them, and uh, take
I've
my
got that same dream.
little sprinter van and be a digital nomad and use my solar panels to recharge my batteries, and take an easel and stand out in the field and paint when I'm not working. And I'm trying to figure out a way to do that, but it's not easy. So
You're going to get there. That's what I want to say, because just see all of this coming together for you. You're doing this in such a smart way. In I think,
so good. You're so good. I wish I'm doing as well as everybody else is. I mean, I need to sustain myself. So that's my big thing right now, is to get the clients, fill the roster, and get that machine going. And then I can really plan the next phase. Like right now, it's about getting rid of stuff. It's organizing stuff and paring it all down to a manageable thing, and then feeling like I can actually implement or make specific plans, but I have to get the machine running. And that's the thing that's the big priority right now.
yeah.
I dream about going out and painting. As we talked about before, oil painting is very messy, and it's not something you can walk into for an hour and step out. I could spend a day, like my biggest dream is to go to Giverny and paint Monet's garden, like someday in my life, if I am lucky enough to have enough years left, you will find me there at some point. But yeah, for
I'm a
now, I'd
believer.
settle for seeing Mount Rushmore and, the arches and some other great things that would be really, really awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. I'm so excited for you. In the more immediate future, what are you excited about?
I'm excited about getting this. I love talking about this search marketing findability thing and getting people to understand the things that they can do and having them get results. So I am excited about that. I'm excited that I've had help to get me to narrow down what I want to do, because I was a consultant for so many years and I could do everything. Or you had to do everything because you were hired to do whatever needed to be done, right? So you weren't really a subject matter expert or a specialist. You were a generalist that could get the job done, right? So when it came to marketing myself, what do you market as? Like, well, yeah, I could do this, but I could do that, and I could do this, and I could do that. So, but that doesn't land well with people, because they're like, well, how do we know she can do all these things?
Right.
So if you
Yeah.
don't have one thing you can talk about, it's really hard to present yourself, right? So I am excited that I've found or helped find this topic that resonates so well that I can speak about, that seems to be needed. Like I think finding that connection's been really great.
Yeah. That's so cool. And we didn't even talk about your TV show.
Oh, no. I had the opportunity through a program I was in to join this network called the Win-Win Women Network at the founding stages last January. And so their goal and mission is to reach the 3.9 billion women globally and help uplift their lives by presenting shows on topics from health, wellness, child parenting, business, economics, every topic you can imagine is their goal. And they have currently over 150 show hosts who create a half hour of content per week. And it gets broadcast on their platform, winwinwomen.tv, as well as replayed on, well, it's also live on Amazon, Roku, and Apple TV. So I create an episode every week, and it's called Marketing Matters. And I pick a topic aiming at women who are starting out, entrepreneurs who are trying to learn the different ins and outs of marketing and tech and things like that. So
Wow.
it's been good for me because I've gotten used to being on camera. I've gotten used to speaking and trying to find my language, which was not always easy to do. So
Right. Oh my gosh. I don't know how you do everything you do, Denise, and still get your 8 hours of sleep. That's amazing.
it's amazing when you don't have children what you can get done, or you don't have children in your house.
Uh-huh.
You get a
Yeah.
lot more done that way. So
Yeah.
you don't have
Yeah.
to shuttle people or cook for people or,
Yeah.
so.
I think in some ways, it may be part of my plan to deal with the empty nest. What I'm doing now, I'm kind of laying the groundwork so that when they do leave, I've got stuff to fill my time, because I'm in one way, I look forward to having that time. And on the other hand, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna miss them when they're gone, So
What I will tell you though, that's very cool. And we're just a few years shifted different, we're not that far apart. They come back and it's so cool to see the really interesting, wonderful people they are.
mm,
So as sad as it may be to shut the door on that chapter, the next one's so cool. I mean, you get to experience how they think, what they're interested in a different light, and you get to help them be adults. And it's still incredibly rewarding and amazing. So try not to think of it as end.
the end, right? Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really continues, and just, I've always said, like, it's the best thing you can do with your life to have a child if you're blessed enough to do it.
Mhm.
But it's also amazing to see the different stages. And I'm not sure that past generations got the benefit of doing this because it wasn't considered that way. But, we've spent so much time developmentally, and now that we know so much from what's out in public and thinking about things, we get to interact in different ways. It's very cool.
It
So
is, isn't it? It's amazing. I'm looking at my nieces and nephews who are out in the world and as adults, as young adults now, and I think of them when they were 2 and 3, and it feels like such an honor to have watched them. I'm gonna see, this is where where's my tissues, Denise? To watch them develop into the humans that they are and see them
it's
out
not easy,
thriving in the
because
world.
there's things you can't fix anymore, like
Right.
you just have to be there. And so you get to shift to a different kind of interaction
Yeah.
and a different kind of support. It's hard. It's really hard. Some of it can be very, very hard. But
Yeah.
life issues, health issues, things like that you don't have control over, those aren't easy. But the amazing stuff is really cool. So it's good to see that the things you spent all that time focusing on and giving energy to and supporting turn into such beautiful things and wonderful people. Yeah. So yeah, let's not
I'm
go there.
so inspired, and I feel like anyone listening is going to be so inspired by your journey, in that you worked, then you stayed home and you had the gap and you found your way back, which is difficult to do, and then stepped away from that on to on your own terms, then go into entrepreneurship later in life. And I am completely honored to have you as part of my life, and
Thank you.
very inspired by you.
Back at you, girl. You keep me smiling. I want to get on the swings every day with you. So
Let's go. Let's go,
if I
baby.
had a playground nearby.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Denise.
Thank you for the time.
I will have stuff in the show notes where people can go find you, learn more about what
Great.
you're doing,
Terrific.
and go check her out, peoples.
Thanks, Yvonne.
Well, there you have it. There is power in the pause. Power in slowing down so you can speed up. And that doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean you're never going to get busy again. But listen to your body. Pay attention to the warning signs that you need to slow down, recharge, and replenish. Love yourself enough to honor your needs. Walk slowly, take a nap, take a warm bath. Make time every day for loving yourself so you have energy and love to share with others. If you're a small business owner and you're interested in learning more about how Denise Millet might be able to help you with your website, I will have information about her in the show notes. Just go to latebloomerliving.com/podcast and look for episode 131. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please share this episode with someone you love who might benefit from it. You can follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn, where I post about each week's episode and share it from there. On Instagram, it's Late Bloomer Living. And on LinkedIn, I'm Yvonne Marchese. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you have a fantastic week. Stay safe and well. Talk soon.